Welcome to November 2024 Reiki Call. This is Karen Harrison, and I'm happy to have you here. My website is karenharrison.net. Tonight I have a guest speaker, Teri Bybee, a dear friend of mine, and I will introduce her in just a little bit after we get started with a little grounding meditation. So I have a new little backdrop. As Teri said, I'm partially in the forest and partially by an altar. So anyway, that's what I've got. I switched it up a little bit.
Nice.
So and welcome Leslie. So
Hello.
we're doing just a little grounding. So let's place our hands in Gasho and activate our Reiki energy. And close your eyes if it's comfortable for you. And imagine breathing Reiki energy right into your palms. And on the exhale, imagine that Reiki energy flowing back from your hands through your arms, all the way up to your shoulders, and then up through your head, and then down your spine. Reiki flowing all the way down your spine, then down to your legs, and down your legs and on out your feet into the ground, connecting you with the earth. And imagine now the Reiki energy from the earth is coming up through the bottoms of your feet and flowing up through your legs into your pelvic bowl, and then on up your spine, all the way up to your crown, and out of your crown, shooting on into the heavens, connecting you to the heavens. And so you're filled with the Reiki light. And that Reiki light is now spilling out of your body into your aura, filling your aura with the Reiki light. And imagine breathing in the Reiki light and breathing out the Reiki light. And we extend this light to all that can benefit from the Reiki energy. Our family, our friends, our colleagues, our communities, on out across the United States and around the earth, encircling the globe, sending Reiki love and light to all people on the planet, to all living things, animals and birds, the water. And now imagine that Reiki energy is filling you with peace, and tend to breathe in peace. And breathe out peace. And we are grateful for the gift of Reiki and for each one of you, Reiki practitioners and to those new to Reiki. We are grateful for each one of us and our interconnectedness. And so it is. Blessed be.
Thank you.
Okay, well, welcome to my dear friend, Teri Bybee. I've known Teri for a lot of years. I don't even know how long it's been, somewhere back in the 90s.
Yeah, Elena was little, so it's been at least 25 years.
Okay, very long time. So Teri has a 27-year track record of doing healing work and being dedicated to empowering women to conquer self-doubt, imposter syndrome. We've all heard a lot about that. Perfectionism. I'm sure we all know somebody that's got that, maybe even ourselves. So Teri has launched Women Who Risk. It was sparked by a profound realization that life's fullest potential lies beyond our comfort zones. You mean, like, if we stretch, we'll accomplish more? I'm sure that's part of it. So Teri has harnessed the power of Reiki and energy psychology, affecting concrete transformations in countless lives. Her legacy is one of encouragement, empowerment, transformation, inspiring women worldwide to step into their greatness. So I think that's pretty awesome. And I've done some awesome work with Teri too in the past. So I can attest to her skills and brilliance. So welcome, Teri. Did I miss anything that I should have?
I don't think so. Thank you so much. And I don't want John to feel left out. It's not that I don't work with men. It's just that my main focus has been women, meaning that's who comes to me.
Okay, but you're open to working with men also, right?
Yeah. Everything that I'm going to be talking about today, gender makes no difference.
Yeah. Okay. Your website is womenwhorisk.com.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, we all have a divine feminine and a divine masculine in ourselves. So there we go. Applies to everyone. So, well, Teri, for those that might be new to Reiki who are listening to this podcast, can you explain how it helps people overcome fears or blocks when they're stepping out of their comfort zones?
Well, as you may or may not know, but the main concept when it comes to Reiki is that we're working with universal life force energy, and it's about promoting healing and balance. But what we are looking more at today is how do we talk about our mind body practice? So, what do we need to do to go beyond the physical aspects? How do we address emotional and mental issues? So, as we go through our discussion, I'm going to get more and more into that. But knowing that we have the different symbols, depending on where you are in Reiki, we have the different symbols that help address different aspects. And Reiki alone can do a lot of good. So whether you've got the symbols, whether you advanced into the different levels, even just straight Reiki can be really powerful. And we'll as I said, we'll talk about it as we go through.
Okay. All right. So I guess I want to just add a little bit to that. You know,
Sure.
we've got the mental emotional symbol in
Mhm.
Reiki 2 that is specifically for helping with emotions such as fear, anxiety, uh, connecting with our courage and confidence. Uh, Helps with all sorts of emotions, and being able to give ourselves Reiki every day is a major tool to help us with whatever emotions are coming up and coming our way, as well as, you know, receiving a Reiki session from
Yeah.
someone.
And I will be talking about more of that as we go on.
Okay. All righty. Great. Well, you talked about risk as joyful risk. So, I mean, that makes it sound more
It's a lot
fun.
more fun, right?
More fun, yeah. What does that mean to you, and why do you think joy is an important part of the risk-taking process?
Well, one of the things that I work with when it comes to joyful risk is realizing that it's still embracing challenges, but and embracing challenges and stepping out of our comfort zone, but it's doing it from a different place. So it's doing it from a place of curiosity, excitement, trust. It's about looking at risks that align with our values and our passions. And even if we're uncertain, it's about opening us up to the potential of growth, fulfillment, and joy. And so I look at key aspects when it comes to joyful risk. Really want to align it with your authentic self. So it needs to be meaningful to you. It needs to resonate with you on a deeply with your purpose and your goals. It makes the challenge, the risk, much more worthwhile when we are aligned with our authentic self. Another one is we want to embrace the unknown. So rather than looking at the uncertainty or the fear, joyful risk is viewing it from the perspective of the opportunity to explore and learn and grow. Another is that we want to be able to trust our intuition. So again, rather than going to the fear of the uncertainty, joyful risk is viewing it from the perspective of the trusting yourself, trusting the process, trusting that you can handle whatever the outcomes are, even if they might be different than what you expected. And that kind of rolls right into resilience and playfulness. So when we're looking at our mindset, we want to look at the value of the journey itself and not just at what that our expectation is, because we know how expectation works anyway. Expectation often limits us or throws us off if we don't get what we thought we wanted. And so being able to open up to that and then looking at the journey as an opportunity to play and adapt as well in the process is part of the importance. And then it's expansion through the discomfort. So we know, and we've mentioned it a couple of times now, we know that growth is about stepping outside of your comfort zone. If you know it already, if you're really comfortable, you might be pretty good at where you are, but you're not really having an opportunity to expand or grow. And so stepping outside of our comfort zone really allows us to focus on new possibilities and do it from a place of power, because we're making these choices and with some of these others that we talked about. And that really rolls into the role of our mindset. So a joyful mindset can definitely shift the outcomes and the experiences, rather than so many of us think about risk as that really scary unknown, that fearful place, that place maybe you doubt yourself. So having that shift of coming at it from a place of joy, of exploration, of adventure, even of trying something new, that is what joyful risk is for me.
Okay, well, that sounds pretty cool. I had a lot of different thoughts bubbling up as you were talking about that. One being the idea of trusting yourself that you can handle the outcome, whatever it is. I think that is just so important, because sometimes, we're not going to get what we wanted, or it's not going to turn out exactly what we want, how we wanted. But if we can trust that we can handle it, or that we can get the resources to help us handle it. I always think of myself whenever I'm going through a challenging time, I just go out and accumulate more resources, uh, like somebody to give me Reiki, maybe counseling, maybe more self-care, time in nature, things like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then joyful risk, I was thinking, yeah, if we don't keep learning things, then we kind of stagnate. So one of my new things I'm teaching myself is how to use Chat GPT to do more things in my business, like create images for PowerPoints. And
Mm.
that's a lot of fun. Luckily, there's pretty low risk in that. If I create an image that doesn't look very good, I just try again.
But it is the fun and the adventure of it, right? Doing something new and creative as well.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I am getting a kick out of it. And I get to create all these fun images that would be very hard to find, otherwise, like a person, giving Reiki to an animal. I mean, I don't know. There's a limited number of those pictures. So, well, how can Reiki help somebody develop the courage and confidence needed to take meaningful risk in life?
Well, here's where we start talking about Reiki from the perspective of what can it do for us in this whole process. So one of the things that it can do is it can help us prepare. So when we're starting to think about something new, a risk, whether it be a hobby, going to a new place, meeting new people, maybe doing a talk that you've never done before. You can use Reiki to help you prepare. You can help yourself prepare emotionally and mentally. Sending Reiki to yourself, Seiheki is wonderful for both of those things, but you can use any of the symbols or just straight Reiki, doing some self Reiki to calm your mind, to release mental blocks, prepare. Another way is for that emotional support. So if you've not been feeling very courageous, if you are not feeling resilient emotionally or mentally, again, this is something you can send Reiki to yourself. You can also send Reiki to the event, the group, the new hobby, that whatever the risk is that you're taking, and start using that to get yourself mentally, emotionally prepared. And then kind of circling back, that when we're talking about our intentions and being purposeful, we want our intentions and our actions to align. So you can actually use Reiki to, and this is kind of an interesting way to say it, but you can use it to help keep your intentions pure. So if you're thinking about an action that you want to take, if you're thinking about a risk that you are cultivating, you can actually send Reiki to that. You can put it on your altar. You can send, you can put it in your crystal grid. You could, whatever ways that you use your Reiki. And if you're not using in these ways, I'd really suggest you do, so that you can actually focus on it. Make sure that you're really truly in alignment with it, that you're coming from a higher vibration. And Reiki brings all of those things. And then you can make your risks more purposeful because you've really aligned them to yourself from an intentional perspective and from a physical, mental, emotional, spiritual perspective. And then we kind of alluded to this, but not really spoken about it. Reiki can really help build, strengthen, let's say, your intuition. So once you start using your Reiki, using it for yourself, it takes you to that place of calm and quiet. And it's in that place that you have to remember to listen. So listening to how your body is talking to you, listen to how your emotions are talking to you. Listening, some people get direct messages. Mine are mostly feelings. But depending on how you experience intuition, using Reiki on a daily basis, like Karen was talking about, 10 minutes, you're going to feel good anyway, but it can help build your intuition. And so the more you are awake and aware in that way, it's really essential when it comes to taking risks, because you have more clarity and you get the answers that you're looking for using Reiki. So those are like the main ways that I would intentionally use Reiki around risk. But of course, I say risk, it can be around anything that you're talking about. But I look at it, any change you make in your life is a risk, right? Because we're stepping outside of our comfort zone. We're stepping outside of our common way of doing things. We don't realize how many risks we take probably on a daily basis, but the more intentional we can be about it, the more joyful, the more we use tools like Reiki to support us, the more impactful your risks will be in a positive way in your life.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's beautiful. And, linking that back to the authentic self, really talking about tuning into what risks are right for you. You're not suggesting that we go do something,
Skydiving?
goofy.
No.
Skydiving. Well, maybe that would
Not
be right
me.
for some people, not for me. No. Not even sure about that hot air balloon either. But so you're talking about risks that align with your authentic self, that really call to who you are and what you want to be. It might have to do with perhaps your sacred service in the world, which is your life purpose, or maybe it even has to do with making new friends. Like I moved in the last year and a half. And so one of my goals has been to make some new friends in my new neighborhood. And that involves taking risk, going places. And sometimes I meet people and sometimes, I not so much. But
Right.
yeah, if I don't
Yeah.
take a risk, I won't meet anyone.
Yeah. And I mean, even for myself, I'm an introvert. I'm an extroverted introvert. So I actually like facilitation and I like being with in small groups, or actually I facilitate large groups. But when it comes down to it, the thought of pod, I mean, that was a new thing for me to consider in this last, let's say, year. And that was really stepping outside of my comfort zone. But once I started working with it, looking at the joy of it, the adventure of it. I use Reiki daily myself. So having the intention and using my Reiki to bring me to a sense of peace with it and to move away from that fear of the uncertainty of how can I step into this and enjoy it. And it's really about looking at it from that other perspective that I talked about earlier.
Yeah. Now the word cut out when you said whatever it was that you were stepping into. What is
Oh,
that?
podcasts.
Podcasts. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, you mean like this?
Like this. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. And
Wow.
am I and it's one of those things that once you've looked at it again from a joyful risk perspective, once I did looked at it from a joyful risk perspective and started exploring it, it became more exciting. And now I'm so happy to be here and doing it. It's something that I am really aligned with now. So being aligned doesn't mean you may not challenge yourself, right? And that's absolutely what I did when I started considering things like podcasts.
Yeah, I bet there's some joyful risks that you've taken in your life. Are there any stories or examples that you'd like to share from your own or maybe your clients?
Well, I mean, actually, the whole interviewing and being interviewed has been kind of the more recent in the last year or so. And I definitely had to do some work around it for myself because, like I said, introvert, extroverted introvert, but still introvert. And so even the thought of asking people, of approaching people to promote myself as possibility, all of those were challenges in a big way. And that was a year ago. Now it's like, oh, you know what? I think I'd like to talk to them, or maybe they'll let me talk to this group, or it's been such a huge shift for me. So that's kind of my probably most recent personal. What about you, Karen? I bet you've had some risks that you've taken
Oh,
that you're.
well, let me tell you about going to Italy and driving in Italy.
Oh,
I
you drove?
Well, I kind of corralled my daughter into driving because I thought, yeah, I don't really want to do it. And, she's younger, got better reflexes, but it was a challenge. And oh boy, well, here's a joyful risk that we took. This is kind of a funny story, but we got on a train to go from Florence to Milan, Italy. Well, we accidentally got off at the wrong stop and found ourselves stranded in this tiny little town. And there were no trains coming anytime soon that were not sold out. We would have been there for hours. And so there was a train coming in about 30 minutes, and my daughter said, "We are getting on that train." And it's like, yeah, well, how's that going to work? I said, well, okay, we have tickets. They're for a different train. We can just kind of play dumb. So she said, okay, we need to get on the very back of the train since there's no seats that were available. So we did, and thinking, maybe they won't notice us back here. We got busted right away. The conductor, whoever it is that comes by, to take our tickets and told us, no, these are for the different train. Well, my daughter chimed. Sorry, I got a little thing in my throat. My daughter says, well, can we just buy some tickets? And, they said, sure. But they said, you're going to have to stay back here because there's no seats. So that was fine. We had 4 hours of sitting on our luggage. So anyway, that was, kind of exciting to jump on a train that we didn't have any tickets for, but we made it back to Milan and it all worked out.
And I would bet that you did Reiki multiple times, both in and around the car as well as around the situations.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes,
took some
definitely.
risks, but you had the Reiki to support you.
Yes, we were doing a lot of Reiki as we were driving and dealing with tiny little streets. Yeah, we also sideswiped the car on a rock wall when we got stuck in a tiny little town in a little medieval walled city town in Italy by accident. And I thought about taking this really big risk, which was driving the car down the stairs, but it would have landed us in a pedestrian zone and then we would have gotten a ticket. But I thought, well, it's just like James Bond. I've seen James Bond do it.
I'm kind of glad that she probably checked in with her intuition and it said, "Don't do that."
Yeah, no, we didn't. We didn't. Instead, we just scraped the car. But my intuition had said to get full coverage
I
before.
was just thinking about that too.
Yeah, so we were able to turn the car in with the 2 foot scrape and the dent
Oh man.
without any extra money or penalties. But yes, Reiki all over that. So, one thing I want to come back to, you use Reiki and energy psychology, and you really haven't said anything about the energy psychology. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so it's interesting because the very first thing I learned was Reiki, and that was back in 97. And then a year or two after that, I learned something called resonance repatterning, which is one of the ways of doing energy psychology. And so I use them together a lot. Energy psychology is, well, I'll speak specifically to resonance repatterning. Resonance repatterning is looking at the vibration or the resonance of everything, right? We have resonance. The things that we want in our lives have resonance. And if there's something that is not in your life that you're wanting, you're not quite resonating with it yet. If you got crap, problems, issues, challenges that you have in your life, you're resonating with them. So with resonance repatterning, we actually look at how we can shift our resonance, our vibration, so that we align on every level with those things we want, drawing them in, and basically disconnecting to those things we don't want and shifting our energy so that we push those things out. So that's the basic look at resonance repatterning or energy psychology.
Yes, and I'm just remembering now that you helped me with my little proclivity to get speeding tickets. Yeah, I remember working on that with you because I think after I'd accumulated a certain number in a short period of time, I thought, all right, you offered me a resonance repatterning session to help me shift that so I would no longer be, so I'd be
Shift that
invisible to
pattern.
the cops, right? No, that
Yeah.
was,
Yeah, it's definitely about shifting the pattern. And then a beautiful thing about something like energy psychology or Reiki is that they're often a tool that you can intermix with other things. We have to look at the tools that we want to put in our toolbox because each individual is going to have a different set of tools. We're drawn to different things. Different things work differently for us. So I definitely recommend that you try different things. And like I said, Reiki was my very first thing. It was the first time I experienced energy in a unusual way. It's the first time I really felt something and realized that it was outside of myself, but it was part of myself. So yeah, it's really cool. And actually, I'll mention here, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to offer y'all a free gift that is actually a self-paced mini repatterning that you'll do with me. And it's called Unlocking Your Inner Courageous Leader. Very helpful, your inner courageous leader, when it comes to taking risks. So it's one of the things that maybe you can give a try.
okay. do you want to go ahead and put that into the chat for us?
I'll do it right now.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
So it's womenwhorisk.com/gift.
Okay, well, that's easy enough. We can do that. Womenwhorest.com/gift. All right. What sort of things have some of your clients helped to shift and change through this combination of resonance repatterning and Reiki?
Well, and this would depend a little bit on them on whether they have Reiki or are just receiving Reiki, not just, or are receiving Reiki. But it's been from everything from relationship issues, whether it was wanting to find someone or healing a relationship that they were in. It's been job searches. I had somebody that was in starting an interview process, and he interviewed for one position, and through doing the resonance repatterning and me sending Reiki during his interview, he actually got offered a position that was like two up from what he had initially been interviewing for. So it's limitless, right? It's limitless on the things that are important to you, on what you want to work on.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I'm wondering if any of the people that are online now have any questions, about maybe something that they're working on and wondering if this type of modality might work for them. Anybody out there that is listening that, kind of is wondering, has a question in your mind about this? Okay, go ahead.
Hi, my name's Margaret Mary. Everybody calls me I don't have a question, but I am very intrigued from what you have shared, um, especially about the relationships uh, and the repattering, especially since Karen has acknowledged that you helped her with the speeding tickets, because my father popped into my head almost immediately with that. So, thank you for being here and sharing this. This is very profound.
Absolutely. Just speaking of relationships, whether we're talking about childhood, romantic, familial, friends, whatever it is, oftentimes what we're experiencing in our adult lives are things that were initiated when we were very young. And the pattern, when we're talking about repatterning, a pattern is often set. So if you find yourself falling back into the same kind of relationship or the same kind of angst in the relationship you have, like I totally understand parental type patterns that we can have, right? And even to the point where maybe we play that out with our children. So all these patterns are set, but the beautiful thing about something like resonance repatterning is that it is looking at it from an energetic standpoint, working with the not only conscious, but the unconscious when it comes to getting us aligned in a different way. And so with that, we are able to address earlier experiences that kind of set the pattern. Now, I will say, just like anything, whether we're talking Reiki or any other modality, it's not necessarily and or always the silver bullet. If for myself, I'm 61. And so some of my patterns I've had for a while. And so there are things that I've worked on over the years, but there's sometimes magical, all of a sudden it's just different. And that's a beautiful thing. But oftentimes it's subtle changes that lead us toward, again, that's looking at the journey, right? Trusting in the process, trusting in the journey, knowing that we are taking steps forward. We are raising our vibration around that. We are shifting the pattern. So yeah, I've done my own father work years, and it may be completely different than what you're alluding to, but
Oh,
yeah,
my father got lots of speeding tickets, so all
oh,
us kids had to drive him so that he stopped getting speeding tickets. And I'm clear there's something there, because I became Reiki attuned in October of 2020, and of course we were all in the throes of COVID, and I found myself in separation and isolation, and for me it was a gift. And what I've become aware of in the last few months, people that have family, friends, even like I haven't had anything to do with my siblings since about 2000. And all of a sudden I've got people coming out of the woodwork, so to speak, reaching out to me. And I'm just listening around that, and all the shifts in the relationships. I was away when COVID happened, and when I finally made it back, my personal effects were on the front lawn, and it was like, okay, I don't know how I'm going to make this work, and I know it's going to work. And that was March. And then I never had a Reiki treatment. And I became attuned in October. So that was, you really piqued my interest when relationships came up, because I've had this long gap, and now it's like, okay, what is occurring?
Right. Well, and I would even venture a guess from the standpoint of the fact that you brought Reiki into your life, you're doing Reiki, whether you're doing it for yourself, you're doing it for someone else, you've changed your vibration and you've raised your vibration, and that could be a magnetic to others. So yeah, that would be one of the things that I would venture a guess on it at the very least, of the part of the why.
Mhm. And Terry, I don't know if you're able to share with us a little bit about what some of these resonance repatterning things are, because I found that really interesting. That some of it seems to be working on like an unconscious or subconscious part of our brain, because it may involve doing something that doesn't really make conscious sense,
Right.
but it creates shifts.
Well, and with resonance repatterning, just on a broad perspective, it's a nonlinear process. We look at problems into opportunities. We look at intentions for new possibility. I have probably 50 different repatternings, meaning they have different themes. One's a parental. One is abundance. One is the 5 element qualities. I mean, that they're just a wide variety of repatternings that your system could possibly choose. And one of the fun ways I talk about resonance repatterning to explain it to people is that we're on a tour. We're on a tour bus. But in this process, you're the one driving the bus. So when I do a repatterning with someone, I'm actually checking into their system and their inner knowing. Their wise woman or wise man, their inner healer, knows exactly what they need for transformation in the moment. I'm the tour guide. So I show the way. I show why we're taking this turn and why we're taking that turn, whether it's conscious or unconscious. Your system drives it. So I love that. We're on an adventure together when we do a repatterning. We're going to take a tour and you get to drive.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. Well, kind of coming back to some of the other things you wanted to talk about, um, how to incorporate Reiki in our lives, to support risk taking. What do you suggest, and what have you found helpful?
Well, I'll go back to what you started with, and that's the self Reiki.
Mm.
And when we work on raising our vibration, when we are doing that healing, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, we can use Reiki for that. And if you have some of those symbols lend towards specifics, right? But again, Reiki alone can help on every level that we have. And I actually do I call it a meditative prayer every night. So I use Reiki specifically. I use Reiki to bless the issues that I might have had in the day, so that I'm not, I bring to awareness the things that happen that maybe I'm not so happy with, but I bless them with Reiki. And then I turn around and I set my intentions for the next day. And I send Reiki to that as well. So that's part of my meditative prayer every day. So doing that for yourself is important. And when you're setting your intentions, going back to the whole intuitive piece, if you, in your setting of intentions, like I said, my meditative prayer, I ask for clarity. I ask for guidance. And it may come that in that moment, or it may come over the next few days. But if we can remember to do that, then again, our risks become more purposeful. They become more aligned with our passions, our goals, our purpose. So actually using that to help set our intentions for that guidance, that clarity. And then kind of the last thing around that is we want to also maintain balance, right? So it's about staying centered in this higher vibration. And do we fall out of it? Yes, let's be serious. We're all human. We have our moments, our angst, our anger, our anxiety, whatever. So it can help bring us back to our center, help us with our emotional resilience. And like I said, I do the meditative prayer, but I would recommend that depending on what you're working on, if you're contemplating a new challenge, I do Reiki on it beforehand. I do Reiki on it during, and I would do Reiki on it after. Especially if it's like a speaking gig or something. If I were worried about this, I would definitely send myself some Reiki after the fact as well. So part of it is working it through the process, but remembering you have the tool. I think as healers, and I would assume most of us on here, since we are either interested in Reiki or no Reiki, we often forget to use the tool on ourselves or the tool for ourselves. We're givers. So we often give to others without remembering that we too need to fill our well. And Reiki is a beautiful tool for that.
Well,
especially if
Terry,
you're thinking about challenges and new risks.
that is absolutely what I see with my students. They're very good at giving to others. They're not very good about giving to themselves. And they're not very good about asking others to give them a Reiki session either. So,
And one of the beautiful things about what Karen's created is this community. All these different Reiki students that come together that can share Reiki amongst each other, even if it's just Reiki prayers, right? I know that I'm on her page. I'm part of her Facebook group because, I want to be able to support others. And if that's just a Reiki prayer, then hey, that's great. But if you have an issue and you need those prayer warriors to come forward, it's a wonderful it's a wonderful group energy that Karen's created over the years, and more people joining it. And we know exponential energy, the more we come together, the sum of our parts, okay, now I can't remember how to say it. The sum of our parts is greater than the whole.
yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. I can't believe I remembered it.
Yes,
But yeah.
that was good. That was good. Well, I want to come back to what you said about the end of the day thing. That is something that I have not frequently done. And it occurs to me that that could be very helpful to, review the day and see, what it is that we need to bless. What is there to learn? What do we want the next day? Sometimes I'll do that, but not always. And if I don't, that's probably why it shows up in dreams or maybe even a nightmare. Because, Reiki could have helped with that some more.
And I will fess up, I am a night owl, not a morning person. So some of you might choose to do that in the morning. You can bless your past day, still review it, still bless it, and then plan for the day. But I'm a night owl, so yeah, I get up and I have to go because I wanted to sleep as long as I could after I went to bed at, whatever time. So
Mm-hmm.
make it, again, be your authentic self, make it fit you and your pattern, but it works.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, kind of coming down to, what would you suggest to someone who wants to embrace more joyful risk in their life, but maybe feels hesitant, maybe they're a little scared to take that step to join that new group, to apply for the different job or whatever it is?
Well, a couple of key things. Remember the joy aspect. You want to embrace the risk with the joy. So, and it's not talking about being reckless. It's about pushing us to our growth edge because change is a risk, and it's through that we grow. But you want to remember the joyful piece. You also want to remember to keep it authentic and aligned with you and your goals. And then you got to trust the process. You've got to remember that risk can lead to growth and greater opportunities. And sometimes you're going to get something that you didn't even imagine, right? Because you put yourself out there, you took the risk. And adding that mindset of the joyful risks really does shift the experience. And I will say that I have a challenge for you all. So knowing that you have Reiki to support you, I want you to think over these next couple of days about a risk that you can take from a more joyful perspective using Reiki to support you. What can you do for yourself? A little bit of challenge, a little bit of growth, but something that you can commit to yourself for.
Hmm. Well, I'm wondering, as you all are listening to that, our listeners here, what sort of ideas might be bubbling up for you about
Mm.
what sort of joyful risk you might want to take? Hmm.
I received a request to spend Thanksgiving with my siblings, and I haven't seen them since 2000, so I'll I will do that joyfully.
And remember your Reiki before, during, and after.
Reiki's always on. I don't know how to turn it off, and even if I did, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
But and yes, you are correct.
Yeah, be intentional with it
Absolutely.
as well. I hear you though. It's nice just to have it running, but be intentional with it as you take this joyful risk. I'm so excited for you.
Exactly, because there is a lot of healing that is the possibility, and that is the intention. A lot has happened in the last few months, and just being very intentional in unification and healing. To quote Rodney King, can't we all just get along? Yes, we can. We're just gonna be intentional in it.
Wow. Well, good for you.
Beautiful.
That's exciting. Anybody else want to share risks that you're contemplating?
No matter how big or how small, it's still a risk.
Go ahead, Leslie.
Uh, and an elderly friend of mine uh, asked me if I would, go on vacation with him to Florida, where it would be a vacation for me because I'm working. But his brother lives in Florida, and he wants to go see his brother, next year. And so, the risk is that uh, my elderly friend is in assisted living, and his granddaughter is in control of him or his estate. I don't know the exact verbiage for it. She had to get,
Mhm.
emergency uh, legal action to have him put in assisted living. And so then the risk or the jump that I'm going to have to take would be when the time comes, asking her if I could take him to Florida to see his brother.
Yeah. That's another one. Definitely, you can send the Reiki to the situation before you're even to the place where you're going to talk about it. That's really powerful.
Yeah, that's a big one. Well, Lucy, what about you? You've done a lot of risk taking lately. I mean, I think I've seen you on TV, you've been in magazines, you've gone to conferences. I mean, this might be outside your comfort zone of what you've been doing over the last few years.
I've been on two podcasts, one with Smile Train and with another uh, support of families of children with cleft lip and palate, friends, relatives. And so I actually did the very, very first interview on the podcast. It was our group through Small Train. So it's called Unbreakable Cleft, and it's on Spotify. And I just went on there in October. So I'm sort of proud because I was the one that took the first risk to do it.
Yay, well, good for you. Yeah.
So I want to do more out in the community. My goal would be to have an article in the AARP magazine or newspaper, and that's very difficult to get into. I've written them several times, but I understand that they have so much they're inundated. So, but who knows? You never know.
Especially if you start adding some Reiki to that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, yeah. Well, I will just see that for you, Lucy, that you are published in the AARP magazine.
Yeah, that's one of my goals. So we'll see what happens. But it's been difficult. So I don't know. My other dream would be to do a TEDx talk, but I tried once and I didn't get in. I know you have to try more than once, so we'll see.
Wow.
That's right.
Well, you're showing up big, Lucy. Yay for you.
Woohoo!
Woohoo. Go, Lucy.
So I'll keep going.
Yay. Yay.
Okay. Well, thank you for asking me.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else? Any other risks that you're contemplating? Okay, well, I'm just thinking all the different categories, it could be, getting a new pet, going on a trip somewhere, maybe putting yourself out on a dating app.
Or meetup.com, finding new groups.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Inviting somebody for lunch, a new friend for lunch date. I mean, so many different things, or maybe it's a new work project.
Mm.
So, yeah. Well, as you said, right, Teri, you kind of are in the Reiki energy as you are receiving the meditation, checking in with yourself, asking yourself for guidance. So Reiki to conceive it, and then Reiki before you take the steps for it, Reiki as you're taking the steps for it, Reiki maybe afterwards to help you, with it. Um, and to maybe incorporate these new learnings and see, okay, now what is the next step? Yeah, so many exciting things.
And remember the womenwhorisk.com/gift so you can try a new modality.
Yeah, try a new modality. And if someone would like to schedule an individual session with you, you offer those.
I
right?
do. And my brain just went blank. If you go to womenwhorisk.com, what's the slash?
Well,
It might be slash schedule. It might be. But if you go on there, you'll see how you can contact me.
okay. So I know you offer individual sessions and you also offer some group sessions too,
I
right?
do. I offer a monthly women's group called Changing the World for Women, and each month we work on a different theme. This past, just this past Saturday, we worked on moving from scattered to grounded, finding the calm in the storm. So that was the most recent. So next, let's see, next month, I think we're working on how to, I can't remember the exact title, but it's basically how to use what we've experienced over the year to set us up for the next year.
Well, very valuable and important topic. So thank you for the work that you're doing with that. And I guess we are moving to the end of our time. Any last thoughts that you wanted to share, Teri?
I'm just really grateful to have taken this risk with you all, doing this podcast with Karen, and really having an opportunity to talk about a couple different modalities and how they can really serve each other and serve you. So again, getting the opportunity to talk about things that I absolutely love and getting to share that love with you all has been a true blessing. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Teri. And this is a blessing to so many people and also has been to me. And you are a blessing to me. And I'm very grateful for Teri and our long friendship. So thank you so much. Again, this is Karen Harrison, Reiki Call Podcast. My website is karenharrison.net. And you can find this podcast on all the places where you get your podcasts, including my website and my YouTube channel at Karen Harrison Reiki. So look forward to seeing you all next month, where I'm going to be talking about Reiki in families. So we will see you then. Love and hugs and Reiki. All right. Bye.